Welcome to this episode of the Transfer Portal CFB podcast presented by NoContextCFB. We are going to start off this week with the Group of 5 previews for the week. And as you can probably tell by Adam's shirt and, well, my hat, we are going to focus on the AAC. Basically, this is a conference that we both feel really comfortable talking about. And I'm pretty excited. As far as I'm concerned, this is going to feel like senior year of high school where I just want to get the hell out.
Almost there, almost to greener pastures, so to say.
But look, let's just got one more year in this. We got one more year to go for 3 of the 11 teams in this conference. UH, of course, being one of them, Cincinnati and UCF. They'll all be joining BYU in the Big 12 next season in 2023. That's right. And join BYU there in the Big 12. And so this is essentially last chance for these 3 teams. I'm pretty excited for how this competition is going to feel, man. How do you feel about knowing that this is our literally last season in the AAC?
I'm excited because I think we have a good team, we being Houston. I think the other side of the American is going to be really interesting. But, I mean, I think it's wide open, honestly. And then, obviously, next year, who knows what will happen. But I want to try and stay focused on this year. It was in front of you, do your job, make a New Year's Six bowl, maybe a playoff, who knows. We've seen it happen. So, I think we got a shot.
I'm excited about this season. I really am. I'm really honestly more looking forward to this season for UH than I probably would for my other team, Wisconsin, because I just feel good about UH's team this year. I feel like if they're going to make any jump to take another conference title that we haven't gotten in like 6 years, 7, geez, it's really going to be 7 years. Yeah, it's going to be 7 years. This is it. This really is it. And, you know, we had Derek Parrish and we had D'Anthony Jones on. We know how hyped they are for the season. We know how confident they're going into it, but we obviously can't focus on just UH. That's probably going to come in a later time, but let's kind of like just dive into straight the storylines. We kind of already mentioned one. This is last season for 3 teams. We got Rhett Lashley, offensive coordinator from Miami, going to SMU now. We've got, you know, it feels like UH's entire offense is back. They're going to definitely have to replace some pieces in the secondary. I think in terms of offense completion, I think they're among the best in the conference. I think they are the best in the conference. Cincinnati, they essentially lost all their key components from that playoff team last season. You know, Kobe Bryant's no longer there. Sauce Gardner's no longer there. Desmond Ritter's not there. They lost Alec Pierce, their leading receiver last year. We're obviously going to go into a little bit more about, you know, how are they going to progress? Are they going to stay the same, you know, potentially undefeated team last year, or are they going to kind of take that step back and maybe not be the same team that we know that Luke Fickell can put out there?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because they did lose a lot for the skill positions, but they still have their whole offensive line there. That was really kind of the cornerstone of that offense that sometimes did struggle, but when you solve the front 5, they're all coming back. They have 3, I think, all conference offensive linemen. I think they'll be fine because you can protect the quarterback, you can run the ball. It just makes finding like talent in the other positions a lot easier when you have a solid base like they did with the offensive line.
And we know what Luke Fickell is as a coach. We know that he's going to be a defensive guy first. He's gonna trust his offensive coordinators. And I'll say that Cincinnati team last year, it wasn't even a strong offensive team either. I mean, a lot of people were not high on Desmond going into the draft. I mean, he ends up being the second quarterback taken. Good for him. But you know, let's kind of just dive right into it. You know, as we're going into the season, I mean, what are some of the biggest storylines that you got for the AAC?
One of them is, can Luke Fickell figure out how to replace all those skill positions? Another that I'm really looking forward to is UCF. We had Gus Malzahn year 2. You know, they kind of got thrown a big, haymaker when they lost Dylan Gabriel, lost the starting running back. I'm interested to see what they do. They still managed to put up, I think, over 400 yards and 30-plus points. Obviously, I think, going with 8-5 or 9-4 that's not UCF standards anymore. But you got Gus Malzahn year 2. I think, like I said earlier, that whole side of the division I think is wide open because I don't think Cincinnati will be as good. It's going to come down to Cincinnati versus UCF, that game, to decide who makes the conference championship. So that's the key storyline I'm watching.
It also feels kind of BS that Houston doesn't get either team this season.
Yeah, it doesn't, but it's also good for us because
it's good. It gives us a better path. I mean, that leaves only SMU as a potential.
It was like that last year too, though. We didn't play Cincinnati did we play UCF last year?
No, we did not play UCF last year.
That's weird. 2 years in a row.
But I mean, truthfully, it was kind of BS because I remember after the season ended, it was literally just like, all right, last season, all the home teams are the away teams and vice versa. And I'm kind of just like, well, that's kind of fucking boring in my opinion. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, look, we're seeing those two teams probably next year anyway. So, I mean, I'm not overly bothered by it. Like I said earlier, Rhett Lashley, former Miami offensive coordinator, now going to SMU. How do you feel he fits that SMU team? And do you kind of feel like that there's like a new culture there this season?
Oh man, I'm not really high on them right now because I'm just not sold on Rhett Lashley yet.
You just couldn't be. I mean, after seeing the first half of last season with that Miami team before Tyler Van Dyke really took off, I mean, it was really hard. It was truthfully really hard to bite on Miami, and Rhett Lashley was getting like head coaching hype, even after Miami got blown out by Alabama in that week 1. It kind of just left me wondering, like, how much of a real deal is he is my main thing. Like,
Here's my thing. I think it's a good fit because, like, he wants to throw the ball a lot. That's kind of what SMU did. They kind of spread it out. That's kind of what Sonny Dykes wants to do. And I think he worked under Sonny Dykes, didn't he?
I think he did at one point, actually. Let me check real quick.
I think he did. I do like the offensive coordinator, Casey Woods, as well. He's I think he was working.
Oh shit, he did in 2018, 2019. Rhett Lashley was already at SMU before.
Yeah, so it's kind of a familiar face. So the transition should be a lot easier, in my opinion. Just don't know how quickly that production will come on the field because I feel like they lost a lot of key pieces.
They did. You got Ulysses Bentley, obviously going from SMU to Ole Miss. That's one of the bigger losses that they had. You had Danny Gray going to the NFL. You had Rashee Rice is still there. Reggie Roberson no longer there. So it kind of does open up a little bit of a bit of a question mark. Like, hey, is Rashee Rice? He was probably the number 2 wideout at best in most games. This year, he's probably going to be the undisputed number 1. We'll see how much further he's going to take that SMU offense. And I actually heard that there might be some more competition than we think between Tanner Mordecai and Preston Stone. For all the people that keep up with Texas high school football, Preston he was a pretty notorious name when he was in high school up in Dallas. So, I mean, listen, I still think Tanner Mordecai I think he's still going to be the quarterback. I mean,
how could he not be, honestly?
He threw 40 touchdowns last season. I mean, he threw the most in the entire AAC. He's not going anywhere. I mean, he would need a disastrous game to start the season. He would need a disastrous game against TCU during their season in order to get benched. But I think it's his last season of eligibility anyways. I think he's got this. I mean, if Preston Stone, if he isn't starter for SMU this season, I don't know how he doesn't transfer, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
He's Dallas kid through and through, though.
That's true. But was he a Sonny Dykes kid?
Yeah, he was.
He was. Yeah, that would be interesting to see because, I mean, TCU was right down the road.
Max Dugan, I think this is his last year of eligibility too.
Yeah. So it might be a little bit of pressure to play him, honestly, if you got to look towards the future. But I don't see how you can't start.
Temple, obviously another team that Temple is another team that obviously got a new head coach, Stan Drayton. But let's be honest, Temple's Temple. I'm not going to waste more than 5 seconds worth of breathing time on Temple, especially considering how they went 3-9 last season and they only won one conference win. I don't care much about Temple, to be honest with you. Transfer portal quarterbacks. This is kind of important now because, we just mentioned Cincinnati, no Desmond Ridder. We'll see who wins it. Evan Prater, who was a class of 2019 guy. He was a top 200 recruit in the country, 4-star, top 6 dual threat quarterback in the country when he graduated. But he's not the only Cincinnati quarterback in the room. Ben Bryant transferred from Eastern Michigan coming in. Ironically enough, former Cincinnati guy going to Eastern Michigan, going back to Cincinnati. I think Evan Prater keeps the job for Cincinnati. I think he's good. He's 6'5". He's almost 200. He's almost 200 pounds. He knows that Cincinnati offense probably better than any other quarterback in that room. I think he has the best. He's the most like Desmond Ridder in terms of build. And like I said, he's already a pro style. He's a pro style quarterback actually, and I think he's just more comfortable with the system that they're trying to run up there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's his job to lose because, like you said, he is the kind of plug and play. They lost Alec Pierce, but they got a lot of their other receiving options back. So you want to go with what's comfortable. You don't want to try and mix things up. So unless he has a horrible camp, which I don't think he will, but they do have a tough start against Arkansas, so things could get shaky. We'll see.
And that kind of does bring up another question of how much are we cheering for Arkansas that first week?
Am I cheering for Arkansas?
For that game I am.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my whole family's from Arkansas, so I cheer for Arkansas. That's my SEC.
UCF, they get another transfer. They get John Rhys Plumlee. I think I said his name right. He comes in from Ole Miss. He's competed with Mike Keane. Truthfully, I don't know shit about UCF's quarterback room. I don't know anything about it. All glory to them. I would like to believe that Gus Malzahn is somewhat of a quarterback whisperer. I don't think he is. I'm truthfully not high on UCF this year, to be honest with you. I just can never really buy on UCF and I think you're going to be shocked by how low I have UCF on my rankings once we get there.
Might be different. I am kind of high. I like Mikey Keene. The kid from Ole Miss, I think he played like wide receiver at Ole Miss, if I'm correct, just so he can get on the field. But I think it's kind of the same as the Cincinnati quarterback. Like, it's Mikey Keene's job to lose. I thought he was fine for UCF, his first year. Like you said, Gus Malzahn, he knows how to coach up quarterbacks. We've seen him work with a lot less talent and do well. So, but I am high on UCF. I think they got a lot of pieces coming back. I like Gus Malzahn as a head coach. And they got Cincinnati at home. So, but we'll get to that later.
One of the quieter transfers, I'd say, of the offseason, Gary Bohannon going from Baylor to USF. How much does this change your perspective on USF going into the season?
0.
Yeah, I don't really. I mean that was a run first offense at Baylor anyways. I'm not sold on anything really. Let's go to we kind of we could talk about realignment, but truthfully we kind of already touched on that. This is a no division conference. I kind of like it that way. Breakout players. Do we have any breakout players? Do you got one that you got to think about?
I do. I'm going defensive for both of mine. I have 2. Okay. Cincinnati. Obviously, they lost 2 of the best defensive backs in college football, but they are returning a very good linebacker. I'm really high on Deshaun Pace. He's like in high school, he was a safety. He's like a safety linebacker, that hybrid. But I think Cincinnati has a really good defensive line. And I think he had 87 tackles last year and 4 interceptions as a linebacker. He's going to be all over the field, flying around. Keep an eye out on him. And then also, I'll pick somebody from my Cougars. I'm going with Javaris Owens.
Well,
defensive back. Again, kind of like Cincinnati, Houston, they lost Marcus Jones. Kind of like Cincinnati, they have a really good defensive line, as we know. They get up the quarterback sack avenue. Ball's going to be coming out hot. He's going to have a lot of opportunities to make plays. So I think those two are my 2 breakout players.
I'm also going to go with one Bearcat. I'm going to go with one Cougar also. For the Bearcat, I'm going to go with somebody that we've already spoke about a little bit. I think it's going to be Evan Prater. I think he's one of those guys that I just don't think media are talking enough about him. Like, I feel like whenever we hear about Cincinnati and all these previews, it's more about Luke Fickell than it is about the roster. And to an extent, that is true. But at the same time, you still need a quarterback to drive the ship. I think Prater is a good enough player to do that. Like I said, he had a tremendous high school career. He's a Cincinnati guy, actually. Originally, went to high school in Cincy, stayed home. Finally waited his turn after it seemed like Ritter was in Cincinnati for like 5 years, it felt like. But he's waited his turn. He's going to take that quarterback role. I still think Cincinnati, they're going to be a really good team this year. It's going to be a different look than what you saw the last 2 years. I think it's going to be a really good team for a really good offense, actually. And they do get a good stable of wide receivers. Tyler Scott and Trey Tucker, who were 2 of their top 3 receivers from last year, they're going to come back. I think Tyler Scott, last season, he had 520 yards. I think he's going to have a pretty good productive, and he's going to emerge as their wide receiver 1. And, I obviously have got to go with a Cougar. And I'm going to go with the transfer from USC that we just got, Brandon Campbell. Brandon Campbell, for those that don't know him, he was a highly sought-after recruit when he was coming out of Tomball High School, Houston guy anyways. Goes to USC, doesn't really see the playing time that he would get. But the good news is that, well, this isn't really good news. This is horrible news, actually. Correction. I think he was Katie, well, whatever. But he is going to get a lot more playing time because of Alton McCaskill being out with the ACL tear. That was a massive loss for Houston. He was the big running back for Houston last season. I think Brandon Campbell, he's a Houston guy through and through anyways. He comes in, he'll go into an offense that I think is very friendly to running backs. But I would also want to give a quick shout out to Tayshawn Henry because he probably will start the season as a lead back. I was going to ask who you think is going to carry the load. I think Tayshawn Henry is going to get the best in the beginning. I think once we get guys, once we go into that UTSA game and maybe like Tech and Kansas in those first couple weeks, I think you will see Tayshawn Henry take the lead a little bit, but I think you will eventually start seeing Campbell take the bigger load. So yeah, those are my 2 breakout players right there. But shout out to those guys. I think it's going to be a really, really, really close. I think it's going to be a really good 1-2 punch for the Cougs. I really like both guys.
I agree. Let's hear your standings. Who you got for standings?
Are we going bottom to top or top to bottom?
Let's go bottom to top. Make it suspenseful.
Temple last. I mean, I'm not even gonna worry about that. Navy, you know what? Navy, they put up a great game against Army. I'm still pissed off about that. Grew up Army guy, but I still don't think Navy's really the talented. I think we're kind of reaching a point with Navy where they're not that 8-14 that we're so used to seeing. I don't think that triple option, that wishbone that they run, I don't think it's really as effective as it used to be. The defense has been really poor over the last couple of years. I don't really care much about Navy anymore. USF, we kind of spoke a little bit about it. It's still a really young team. I'm not too sold on the Bohannon taking over at quarterback. Tulsa only returns 9 starters. They were actually shockingly pretty well. I think they were 5th in the AAC last season, but I think they're going to take a massive step back. I will give a quick shout out to Atascocita High School legend Kenneth Wheeler. Atascocita guy was among the highly rated recruits in the city of Houston last season at wide receiver. I think he could have a couple big games for Tulsa this season. East Carolina 7th. They're just purgatory. I don't really care much about East Carolina. Tulane. I think they're getting kind of sneaky, to be honest with you. I don't think I think we kind of sleep on them a little bit. They were among what? You don't think so? Crap, you're gonna have them last, aren't you? Fifth, Memphis. I think Memphis is too talented to be as bad as they were last season. I think they will take a step up. I got UCF fourth, but truthfully, when it comes to fourth and third, I really don't think there's that much separation, to be honest with you. I'm going to go with SMU third, to be honest. And I don't like saying that. I for real don't. Just because I think there is enough talent on that offense with Mordecai, with, with Rashee Rice, Rhett Lashley. I think he recruited Rashee Rice to come to SMU. I think there's still a lot of good talent right there. And in terms of top two Cincy. And I know it could be easy to be biased, but Cincy still lost a ton of talent. And I don't think they're going to get that win against Arkansas week 1. I just think they're going to be very good. They're going to be really, really good. I think they could be a 10-2, 11-1 team, but I just do not think they're just as powerful as they were before. And I think it kind of goes without saying at this point. I think that this is going to be the best UH team that we've seen in recent memory. Wholeheartedly honest with you. I think this is a better team than 2015 that won the Peach Bowl. I think this is going to be a better team than 2011 that went 12-0 and then lost the Conference USA game. Fucking Southern Mississippi will never forgive them for that. But I think Clayton Tune wholeheartedly, we'll talk about it more, but I just, I saw a quarterback ranking last week that had him ranked third in the country among best quarterbacks. And I thought about it, and you could obviously put guys like Will Levis. Actually, after that whole mayonnaise and coffee, I can't look at Will Levis the same way anymore, to be honest. But Grayson McCall is obviously up there. But I just think that there's this consistency with Clayton, the way that he finished out last season. Even the loss to Cincinnati, he still gave them the best quarterback performance that Cincinnati faced all season until they played Bryce Young. I think Clayton Tune and that Tank Dell connection, Brandon Campbell and Tayshaun Henry are running back. I think they return at least 4 of the 5 offensive linemen. I don't see any reason why UH can't be among the best offenses in the country. They already were. They averaged about 35 points per game last season. And look, I've got all faith in Doug Belk. We had Derek Parrish and D'Anthony Jones on here. They talk about how great they love how much they love playing for Belk. They say that he's very creative on whenever they scheme up things. I am all in on UH. I have never been this pumped going into a UH season.
Okay. So we're kind of far off on our rankings here. I'm gonna give you mine. I do agree. I have 11. I have Temple. I think they're just not that good. Sorry. 10. I'm gonna go with Tulane for the same reasons. They haven't really shown me anything. They have to show me something. In theory, yeah, sure, what you said may be true, but they got to show me on paper before I buy in. 9, I have Tulsa. 8, USF. I think Garrett Bohannon is going to help a little bit. Maybe they win 3 games, 3 or 4, something like that. 7, I'm going to go with Navy. 7. 6, I'm going to say SMU.
Wow. Do you think they're taking a huge step back?
I think they're going to take a huge step back this year. Just this year. Next year, I think they may be able to put the pieces together, but –
well, yeah, because all their real competition's out the window.
That's true. But I just mean as a team, I think they'll flow a little bit better. I do like their quarterback, but that's really it.
You just got to be like super low on their defense with this being the case, because that is still an offense that can probably outscore almost anybody in the conference.
Maybe we haven't. It's a whole different coaching staff. Granted, he was there, under Sonny Dykes, but I'm for some reason I just don't feel good about him. Where I had them at 6, 5, I'm going with Memphis because I do agree with you. I think they were way better than what their record was last year. I think Memphis and SMU you could swap. I was going back and forth with them. And East Carolina at 4.
Wow. Why you got East Carolina so high?
Because East Carolina, they had their first winning season since like 2013. You know, they're headed in the right direction. SMU isn't. They have a lot of players returning. They got back to the bowl eligible last year, and I'm thinking they're going to make that next step with all these other schools having a lot of turnover. East Carolina really doesn't. So I think this is year they kind of take advantage of that. Maybe they sneak in the 4th. Have a little parity in there. Three.
No.
I'm gonna go with Cincinnati at 3.
Do you have the record with you right now? I'm not disagreeing. I actually like that a lot. But
Cincinnati's record?
Yeah.
I think they go 7-1 in conference. I think they lose to UCF. So I think UCF jumps them. I think I got them both going 7-1, but I think UCF beats Cincinnati at home. So that's why I have UCF ahead. And then number 1, I have Houston. I think they're by far the best team. They have the easiest schedule by far. There's no reason why they shouldn't go 8-0 in the conference.
Is there any reason for them to not go 12-0?
Texas Tech, maybe. Other than that, no. There's no reason why they shouldn't. They should. They should beat Texas Tech.
Is UTSA a weaker opponent than Tech?
Yes.
Okay, because my only thing is I'm not saying you're wrong on the Tech, but the thing with Tech that scares me the most, and I did listen to the Big 12 podcast a little bit, I just want to know, how good is Donovan Smith really for Tech?
I don't know, but I think because UTSA is the first game of the year, I can't see them losing that, Like they have the whole offseason to plan for that game. I just can't see them going out and with all the expectations that they have, it was like, this is your year. So last year in the Big 12, go out on the high note. I just can't see them losing the first game.
I mean, look, at least it ain't conference. At least it ain't conference yet before UTSA gets that call to the AAC next season. But listen, I will legit cry if we somehow lose to Kansas, to be honest with you. I mean,
that's not happening.
It ain't happening. It for real is not happening. But whenever I look at Cincinnati's schedule, this is where I think a couple shaky games could come in. I am with you on the fact that they will lose to UCF because they are coming off of a road trip to Dallas and SMU the week before. Mm-hmm. And if Mordecai is on his game that day, and even if Cincinnati somehow still pulls it off, it's not going to be easy to go to Orlando the next week in UCF.
True. I didn't realize that they played back to back. I knew they played at SMU. I didn't realize it was back to back like that.
In terms of UH, I think we'll be UTSA. Mm-hmm. I think we'll be Tech. We'll beat Kansas. We'll beat Rice. We'll beat Tulane. That's back. That's back here. That's back home. But while we obviously know how talented this UH team is, the fact that you have Memphis and SMU, that you have those 2 games on the road.
It's a bye week in between there, though, isn't it?
There's a bye week after the Memphis game. They had time for that. And then after the bye week, they go to Navy in Annapolis. Then they play home against South Florida, and then they go to SMU. I just always get bad vibes whenever you schedule those games like on the road, Memphis or SMU. But here's the thing: it's kind of like what we discussed about Memphis. I just don't think they're that good of a coach team, to be honest with you. I think that's just the biggest issue that I see with Memphis.
Yeah. Honestly, it's I was looking at the schedule. I mean, at Texas Tech is going to be tough. I don't think SMU is good enough. Maybe that second to last game at East Carolina, they might be feeling themselves a little bit. It's kind of a bit of a trap game. They can might be like go in a little bit lackadaisical and slip up, but there's really nothing on the schedule. None of these teams are even close to the talent that Houston has. If they don't go 12-0, it's a disappointment in my opinion.
You're expecting 12-0?
Yes. Based on this schedule, yes.
So if we get DA and Derek back on here, are you going to tell them, like, hey, we expect them 12-0, nothing less?
Of course.
All right.
They better be expecting the same, I'm sure.
I'm going to clip this, and I'm going to tell them you said that.
They know we expect greatness.
So, all right. So you got UCF, UH, and the conference title game. That would obviously be here in Houston. What do you think that score would be?
I think it's something like Houston 45, UCF 32. I think they pull away late, something like that.
I think UH will get Cincinnati, and I would rather have it no other way to bring Cincinnati back to our jungle rather than play it in theirs. It would just feel such sweet revenge game after last season. That's also my dream scenario. If we played Cincinnati, and if everything goes the way that I think it's going to go, I could literally see 48 points to Cincinnati's 24. Yeah, 48.
Wow, huh?
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I don't know what the most packed Houston game is all time at TDCU. I really don't know.
Louisville game. Lamar Jackson.
Louisville, yeah, that game, that was pretty heavily. I mean, I don't know how filled it was in the first game against UTSA when the stadium first opened. I don't know about that.
It was there. I was there. It wasn't. I mean, it was crazy, but it wasn't. It was. I
actually would think if we got Cincinnati back to our territory, that would probably be the craziest game that would ever happen at that stadium.
So, do you have some key games for that to set up? Like, what matchups are you looking at in conference matchups?
UH and SMU. I think. I mean, that's just I think that's the biggest. I think that's among the bigger games in the conference. It's just it kind of, we talk about all the time. It's just the Houston Dallas rivalry. That's just where it gets personal for players. It gets personal for fans. It's honestly a game that I'm thinking about going to be honest with you. Like, why not? I'll make that trip up there. But I'd probably get into a few fights, to be honest with you, if that was to happen. No, being dead serious. Like, I was at the UH-SMU basketball game that was here, and like we had this one SMU kid who, was the most stereotypical dad's probably lawyer type person I've ever met in my life, and I literally wanted to kick this guy's ass. I for real did. Like, this dude was just chatting so much shit. He was like, imagine like living in Houston. I'm kind of just like, bro, like
that rivalry's real, man.
I mean, like, even then it's like at the SMU UH game last season where we stormed the field, I had these 3 SMU guys sitting behind me. Like, they definitely were not alumni. They were not, I don't even know what they were, but like, they were like the absolute most anti-looking SMU people I've ever seen. Like, they were not rich and all that. And they were chatting shit the whole time. They were like, y'all ain't play Cincy this year? And I'm like, but you shut the hell up. We're going to kick your ass anyways.
So that's one of your key games. Do you have any more?
I think that UCF game where they play Cincinnati, that's obviously going to be a massive game. I think, that's probably going to be the game where it decides, like, hey, who's going to be the one to play UH? Who's going to play UH, like, in the conference title game? In terms of another key game, I think Cincinnati, whenever Cincy plays SMU, I think that's another one. There's just something about SMU. I just feel like SMU, while I don't think they're going to be the best team, I obviously do not think that they're going to make it to the conference title game. I just feel like they're just going to be that team that'll just play spoiler, to be honest with you.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. They're going to catch somebody slipping.
They're because, like, here's the thing. They get both Cincy and UH. They get Cincy and UH in their backyard. And I got to make sure, like, another thing real quick. If SMU does play UCF this season, they do.
They do.
SMU goes to UCF October 1st. and then they host Cincinnati October 22nd, and they host Houston November 5th. I just know that they're about to piss somebody off.
Mm-hmm. I think those are the games that you mentioned. Like SMU, they're going to play spoiler. Keep an eye out on East Carolina. I think a lot of teams are going to sleep on them because they're not a perennial powerhouse in the American, at least in football. So people might be sleeping on them a little bit. It might be a trap game. Like I said, that last game, second to last week of the season, Houston goes to Eastern Carolina. That one scares me a little bit.
But we talk about it you're saying East Carolina could play spoiler. I'm saying SMU could play spoiler. The at Memphis game, for some reason I just fucking hate that. While I'm almost willing to drive to Louisiana and make that bet, I just hate the idea of going to fucking Memphis. All right, break up. Let's see. Hot takes. Do you have a hot take for the season?
Hot takes. I think that Tank Dell will be in the top 3 for the Blitnikoff.
Probably only behind Jackson Smith and Jigba and Jordan Addison.
Whoever, I don't know. I think he'll be top.
You don't give a fuck who.
No. And I think that UH will. I don't think we make the college football playoff, but I think we're in the conversation. I think we go 12-0, and we're in the conversation.
I think Clayton Toon's going to make it to New York for the Heisman. I think he's going to be at the high. I think so. I am like.
Well, they go 12-0. Somebody, yeah. It's not.
I think he's a Heisman talented quarterback. I for real do. I disagree. I think this is the last season of eligibility with us. I think so. Maybe.
He has one more because of COVID year.
That's true.
I think he has.
Well, this is going to be the year that he's going to get the end of the first round NFL draft talk, to be honest with you. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is his last season with us. I think Tank Dell, he's going to be in the Blitnikoff conversation. I'm with you on that. While I do think it's going to go to somebody like a CJ Stroud or, maybe Bryson repeats. I don't think he will, but I think CJ Stroud is my Heisman winner. But I do think Clayton Tune, I think he deserves that Heisman talk. I think he's going to have an even better year this year. I've also read something that every quarterback that has his last season with Dana Holgorsen ends up having the best year of their career.
That's true. And I'm going to change my hot take. Tank Dell's going to win the Blitnikoff. This is supposed to be a hot take. He's going to win it. They go 12-0. I don't see why not.
Let's put up some numbers. How many yards? You got to put
1,600
minimum.
1,600 yards.
TDs.
15.
I'm gonna give Clayton. I think he's gonna break 5K yards.
Okay.
Hold on, hang on a second. No, 5K. That's too much. If this was NFL, it would make more sense. I think he'll break 4K.
4K.
Well, that's shit. We hold up 4K yards. How many for 12 games? I know that's right. This is 12 games, 4K yards. We're talking about 360 yards per game. Fuck it, why not? I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it. And for past TDs,
yeah, what?
He's gonna
39 last year.
He's gonna break 40 easily. I think.
He had 39 last year, so he's definitely breaking 40.
48.
48. How many picks? He had like 10 picks last year. He needs his touchdown interception ratio.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Almost half of those picks was in the first game alone.
True.
Yeah, that was the day that you DM'd me and said that we were a basketball school.
We're at me.
He had 10 last year.
He was 39 and 10.
I think he's going to air it out more this season, especially with Alton out. I think he's going to get – I'm going to top it off at 8.
8?
Yeah.
48 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
Yeah, I think so.
Why not? That's Bryce Young numbers.
That's how what's that TD touchdown error? Is that 6-1? Yes, that's 6-1. Fuck it. Fuck it. Why not? 48 TDs, 8 interception, over 4K yards. He's gonna fucking do it.
Hope so.
He gonna be in the Heisman.
So I think we both have Houston in the New Year's 6.
Yes. Houston, fucking hell, man. I'm trying to think like who I have in my top 4 right now, because here's the thing. If we go 12-0, it'll be better than Cincinnati's 12-0.
No, it wouldn't.
Oh, look, we wouldn't have a key win over like Notre Dame, but hey, we'd be more fun to watch though.
It'd be more fun to watch, but I don't know.
We put up more points. I mean, listen, who says that we can't have a better defense than Cincinnati did last year?
Yeah, but Cincinnati has the quality wins in my opinion.
Fuck the quality ones, man. Indiana wasn't even that good last year, and that game was still close.
They beat Notre Dame. They beat us. They smacked us.
Yeah, but we still gave Cincinnati like among their tougher wins of the season. Clayton still had almost 300 yards that game.
You're reaching on this one, brother.
I mean, listen. Look, I want my clippable moments, man. That's what I want. I want to fight. I want to fight the Ohioans, man. I fight Luke Fickle on this. All right, man. What else did we miss out on?
I think we covered it all, man. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited, man. Got less than 6 weeks.
6 weeks. We going to the UTSA game, right?
Yes, I'm down.
We still got a DM Brian because we're sitting next to the band.
It's fine with me. I'll be there.
That poor clueless bastard. All right, guys. If you guys made this far, thank you so much. Listen, if I'm wrong on these takes, if I'm wrong about Clayton Tune, if he don't make Heisman, race, come back and talk shit at me. All right, I'm gonna stick by that guy rest of the season, no matter what I said after that Tech game last season.
You were emotional.
Yes. All right, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, man. Y'all have a good one.